Microsoft computer. Good night to each and every one of you. We are happy to welcome you to the Cnfo's Leadership Institute. Tonight's session is on Module 2, Processing and Value Addition. I'm very happy and honored to have the privilege of Mr. Keegan Slinger facilitating tonight's session. He comes with a great wealth of knowledge and experience in the topics of process and value addition that we are going to discuss tonight. Keegan?
Good night, everyone, and thank you, Nadine, for that introduction. I am happy to be here tonight facilitating, and I just also thankful for the opportunity to share with my fellows within the Caribbean. So tonight's module is on processing and value addition. Okay, and tonight we would be covering what is fish processing in general, how we prepare our area for fish processing, so food safety aspect of it. We will discuss the different market forms or the most popular market forms of fish produced by the fish retailers. And the interesting parts like the value-added products derived from our marine fish and also other byproducts produced from the rest raw material of the fish or the fish waste. So fish processing, what is fish processing means? It just relates to the set of activities carried out by fishers or retailers, fishmongers or processors or any other actors in the value chain to preserve or change the form of the fish until it reaches the consumer. But generally, fish processing can be broken into two different categories. There's primary processing, and then there's secondary processing. Primary processing steps involve the evisceration of the fish or the cutting of the fish, the deheading of the fish, scaling, trimming of fins, some slicing, some filleting, and skinning, or any kind of combination of those within the wet processing area.
Keegan, can I just interrupt you for a second? You have the slideshow and you don't have the full slideshow running, so it's a bit small on the screen.
I don't have the full slideshow running. I don't. I'm seeing it.
So the show is different. The show gives you the full screen, yeah?
Oh, hold on. Oh, the full screen. I don't see what's the
So
Are
on
you
my screen, I can see two screens, your next slide and your current slide.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so, right. Let me quickly fix that. Right.
Sorry about that, everyone, but just so that we can follow much easier. And I'm also responding to a comment in the chat as well. Thank you, Norman. Good, Keegan, this is full now. We just need to do the presentation.
Yeah, let me know. Is it good now? Or you still seeing the two screens?
I'm still seeing the two screens. So this is
Okay.
usually what happens.
I
Yeah.
had some yeah, I had to switch machines at the last minute. So I think this machine, the full screen is set, the primary screen. The primary screen is the front end, right?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. And this machine is a bit slower as well. Can't do too much at one time. Okay, come on.
That's it.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. You know, the configuration's a bit different. So let's just start. Thank you all for your patience. And tonight we will be going through module 2, processing and value addition. We will be covering the topic areas of fish processing, the preparation of your area for processing. We will discuss different market forms, also the value-added products that derive from marine fish and other byproducts derived from the rest raw material of marine fish or the fish waste. So you're seeing some wet processing in that picture there. And what does that really mean? So it's fish processing is a set of activities done by fishers or any other player in the value chain to preserve their fish or change the form of the fish until it meets the consumer. And this activity can be divided into two categories: primary processing and secondary processing. Primary processing involves gutting, deheading, scaling, washing, trimming of fins and flaps, also filleting and skinning the fillet. Secondary processing will include all the other stages or changes to the fish beyond what I just mentioned, which is such as salting or brining and smoking or drying. So these activities, it's what will change the form of the product as well and add value. So let's look at a diagram here, and it's a processing diagram showing how the fish flow or the raw material, you refer to as the raw material tonight, flow through the entire process and go through the primary processing and secondary processing and all the others until it finally reaches the consumer. So after the raw materials are received, you can see that's the stage: primary processing, scaling, gutting, washing, and preparation for other market forms. And from there, when, depending on what type of secondary processing that is going to take place, that will actually determine your market form. So whether you're going to salt the fish or smoke the fish, or you're just producing your fillet producer, etc., all that will determine your market form. After your secondary processing, you will go to your packaging, storage, distribution, and then on to the final consumer, whether it be wholesale, retail, restaurants, etc. But before we get into the processing of our fish, our primary concern is how we prepare our area for processing. And we do that by organization, proper organization. So we should have all our PPE ready and well dressed, our equipment, and any tool, utensil, knife, cutting board, bins, buckets, trays, covers, scales, of course, right, should be put aside neatly and in the order of how we are going to proceed with the processing work. And as the fish handler or the fish handlers should also be properly attired, and we would have addressed this in the first module. So PPE is very important. Clean clothes and externally, and you have your processing clothes on, your PPE, personal protective equipment. Also, what's important is that we should only the persons who are processing or handling the fish should be present. No limers around, no extras. And if there are helpers, they should also be properly attired. Another important aspect of processing is the cleanliness of your contact surfaces when you're going to process the fish. So these surfaces must be cleaned and disinfected at least before or the night before. And it must, the process of the cleaning and disinfection must follow the steps that we would have discussed before in terms of the dry cleaning, wetting, applying the detergent, rinsing, sanitation rinse, etc. All these are of paramount importance for the food safety aspect. So the aim of cleaning our surfaces is to remove all the visible dirt, disperse wet, and so prevent the buildup of organic matter. And when we disinfect, we want to destroy the microorganisms present while processing, the growth of those microorganisms to a level that is acceptable, that won't cause illness. So we cannot remove all of the microorganisms or kill all of the microorganisms. But what is actually done is it destroys most of it and is brought down to a level that cannot get us humans ill. And an important point is, if at the bottom of the screen, effective disinfection can only be obtained after an effective cleaning. That's important to know. We should also learn or note how cleaners actually work. So when we wet the surface, we loosen the dirt and we apply our detergents. These molecules attach themselves to the dirt and surround the dirt or what we want to remove. And through the cleaning action, it is lifted and then it is rinsed. So your type of detergent is important based on what you are trying to clean. In this case, it will be organic matter. It will be flesh from the fish. It will be maybe a bit of dirt. It will be some fat, some oils from the fish itself. All right. So the types of cleaners are important in this aspect. And there are different types of cleaning compounds. We have soaps, solvents. We have different types of foams, right? Which raise the dirt. We have alkaline and acid cleaners and neutral ones. Disinfection, we have chlorine-based, iodine-based, quaternary ammonia. We have ozonation and also acid. The most common type of cleaners used in our industry are, well, soaps or detergents. Some foaming agents are used as well because it's effective and efficient for when cleaning processing areas, because you clean from the top down. So you foam, well, it is the same application like where we see the foaming cars now, right? So that helps lift the dirt off easier. It's also less laborious. So you hook up your foam machine and you foam the walls and so, and then you rinse, all right? And in terms of disinfection, we would use more chlorine-based sanitizer. It's cheap, it's effective, it's available, all right? But what is also important is the water that we use to carry out these cleaning functions. And we know water is an ingredient in using the cleaning agents, and also while we pre-rinsing and giving it the final rinse after sanitation. So we must use clean water, clean stored water, not dirty water, brown water. Normally we not stale water or rainwater. Normally they will try and put some water filters on before if it goes into storage as well. So you want to use clean potable water. And just to reiterate our cleaning and sanitizing procedures, you have your rough clean with your broom or your hand brush and so forth. Rinse, detergent, scrub, rinse, sanitize, and rinse if required. Now, some disinfectants or sanitizers do not require rinsing, right? But also, we must be mindful of the cleaning procedure. It's not something that you rush through as well. You take your time and you carry out each individual step, especially the sanitizing part of the procedure, because we need to allow the sanitizer to work enough time to break down the cells of the microorganisms, to destroy them, and then we rinse them away if required. If there's excess water in our cleaning or processing areas, we can try to remove that as well to aid in the drying process, like our surfaces and so forth, so that the air, if there's any dust or anything like that, it doesn't adhere to the surface that we just cleaned. All right, so you can use maybe a squeegee, a handheld squeegee, and remove the excess water. All right, and or drainers for your utensils and tools. All right. Next, I would like to show you this checklist here. Now, this is a sanitization standard operating procedure for cleaning and sanitizing a typical processing area or plant. All right. So here we'll see the designated area that requires cleaning. We've seen 2 areas in this example here. Each area has the different items that needs to be washed or attended to. How often? The steps, including the sanitizer and the concentration as required. And we also have the days that it needs to be done. And as a subset, we have BDA, well, before, during, or after. So if you're receiving a fish before you start, you must wash down your area. So all this is recorded. You must rinse. If you would have carried out all these actions the night before and the area was closed and secured, you can just do a pre-rinse of the area with sanitizer, and you can start to process the fish. So, and also, well, it is also all the steps are done at the end of each day of processing your fish. And there's also different areas, like your storage area, your packing area, or all those are included with the different things. So your packing area, for example, may have your packaging material, the cupboard, the sealers, the vacuum sealer, the impulse sealer, right? You have your scales, you have your bags and so forth. You have your trays to transport the fish between the different areas. So this is an important thing. Documentation of your activity is important in terms of traceability. So once we have pre-clean and all that, and we enter our processing, if you remember the diagram, we would have, based on what we're going to do in terms of the secondary processing, we'll determine our market forms. Now, the general market forms that we have is like fresh and chilled and frozen fish. So we can see we have whole fish, we have sliced fish or steak fish, we have fillets, skin on and skin off. We have steaks, same skin on and skinless. We have butterfly, we have frozen whole, gutted, and we also have frozen steaks. So there are many different market forms available in terms of the processing of the fish. Let's go through the whole round. Normally we will get that's our fresh fish, all right, that you get in any retail market. You buy it whole and you just tell them that you want it cleaned and cut, or you carry it home and you process it yourself in some cases. A drawn fish, this is when the entrails are removed, the guts are removed, and is sold as is. So maybe like a restaurant may have this kind of fish, and they will process it more or as fit as they would like in terms of the requirements. Pan dress, head, we have the gills removed, the guts removed, the fins removed, all right, and the tail. Well, we have the steaks, the body of the fish is cut into slices. Sometimes we have straight slices, or sometimes we have slant slices. Depends on what is your preference. Normally about 1 inch thick. All right. And this is most popular in terms of your sliced fish, your whole round fish, like your mackerel.
Yeah.
You have your fillets produced from your whole bony fish.
Yeah.
And these are when you take the meat from both sides of your fish and remove all the bones. So we see in the photo that, and then you trim. So you see in the photo there, you have the meat from the both sides of the fish, the top and the bottom. The middle there is removed, because that's where the pin bones are, and the fish is nicely trimmed. All right. You notice in the background, our proper cutting board, clean, our nice impervious countertop. So all these are good factors here when fish processing. We also have your single fillet from maybe your flounders and so, one whole fillet. You have a double butterfly fillet, usually cut from the belly. There's also a market form that goes for secondary processing. You have your loins, very popular, the large pelagic, the tunas, all right? You get your four loins, very meaty part of the fish. And these loins are also sliced into steaks, which are uniform pieces, as I said, about 3/4 to 1 inch thick from the loins. It is also done with salmon fillets as well, because they call them the portions, because the fillet has a certain size. The top of the fillet is normally thicker, the bottom part is the belly part, so they actually have different cuts of the fish. We get two from the top, belly flat, come down, and then you got the tail at the back. So all those are different parts of the same one fillet that you would get in the retail section of the fish shop in terms of processing. Then you have fish sticks. Now, fish sticks, I see normally people use species such as your mahi-mahi, even redfish, right? It's popular to make these type of cuts. After you fillet and skin the fish, they are sliced thinly down and into finger-sized pieces, referred to as fish sticks, where it is then battered and fried. Now let's move into the value-added products in terms of for secondary processing. So we will cover both chilled and frozen products, cured products, comminuted products, fermented, jelly, how fish is utilized to create other products, and other byproducts. So in the photo, we can see chilled and frozen products. On the left, you have a processing plant, a fillet processing plant where they fillet and cod. All right, so large loins are produced. It is kept fresh and packed and shipped out fresh. In the same plant, you have other pieces of the loin that is quick frozen. So it goes over a conveyor belt and it is frozen into a frozen product. Same species, same plant. Second, we have our salted and smoked products. So in the photo, we can see, to the top right, we have our salt dried shark. On the top left, we have our salted cod. At the bottom, we have some dried fish roe. We have some smoked bonito. And we have some salt dried sea bub in the middle there. All these are salted and smoked products that is derived from different species of fish. Now, in terms of species of fish, there's already the research that determines which species of fish is better suited for which type of product. All right, so we have more lean fish for salting. All right, and we have the more fatty fish in terms of the smoking. Right, next here we have dried fish. Now this is a product from that can be found in Iceland and Norway, right? Where they dry their fish, all right? They dry the heads, the fish carcass, the collarbones, and the tongues from the fish after processing. So in the chill part where you see the fillet processing plant producing fillets, the carcass is collected, all right, and set aside as raw material to produce another product, which is this dried fish here. All right, so they have coined the term rest raw material. All right, in terms of the fish waste is now raw material to produce another product. So this is the direction that we're trying to go into in terms of utilizing the whole fish, right? We don't want to throw away any part of the fish. And actually this product is very nutritious. It is dried. The nutrient is very high in it in terms of protein, and it's very popular in terms of the African market, like in Nigeria and so forth. And it's very profitable as well because it is dried, it weighs less for shipping, and you get more out of the same fish. You sell the fish, the whole fish. That's it. So later on, I will show you something more interesting about this dried fish here. All right, let's talk about our community products. So in the photos here, we have our fish balls, we have our fish burgers, our sticks, our sausages, nuggets. All these are, this is what you call community products. And it's popular. We are seeing some popular brands there which you all may know. All right. Some of these like the Tidal is from Barbados, the Rainforest from Jamaica, and so forth. All right. Some of the other pictures there is from locally made in Trinidad. All right. And these are popular. These are value-added. Persons want to eat more fish, and they get it in different forms. They want to eat fish with no bones. They want to give their kids a healthier option in terms of not the processed meat for like hot dogs and so. So the fish wieners is an excellent option. The burgers as well, very tasty. The fish sticks instead of chicken nuggets. You have your nuggets as well. All right, and well, the fish balls, you can't go wrong with that. It's a favorite. And all these are derived from basically the same type of secondary processing method. You know, the fish is deboned, all right, and then it is seasoned and added in and then formed like either a patty or stuffed in the sausage casing, or formed as a nugget, or the sticks and so forth, or made into balls. So you can actually take one recipe and create a lot of products from the same fish. But it's important to know that not all fish species can make the same product. Same process, but different species. Some species are better suited for the burgers in terms of the flavor and the sausage because they have different chemical properties in terms of the connective tissue and how the meat stick together and stay together when processing and when cooking. Next, we have our fermented products. Here, displayed, we have our fish sauce. Everyone should be well aware of the fish sauce here. It's more for Asian dishes. And the fermented shark in the picture there, it is actually I wouldn't say popular, but it's a delicacy in Iceland because in the old ages, in terms of preservation, fermentation is one of the oldest forms of preservation for fish. So they would ferment the shark over months and then eat it. The fish sauce is very excellent in terms of and very nutritious as it contains a lot of amino acids and flavoring for fish dishes. You can season fish with it. You can cook with it, make your broths, your soups instead of using your Maggi soup packs and so forth. It's excellent for that. All right. And these products are normally made from, like, you can either use whole fish to create a fish sauce. It goes through a salt fermentation process. All right. And normally takes a few months, stored at room temperature around 30 degrees in buckets. And when it goes through the process, you drain that liquid. That liquid is your fish sauce. All right. There are other different Japanese versions of the fish sauce, right? That goes with different dishes. So as we've seen it here, fermented fish sauce and the different versions. We have, you all can also ferment surimi, which is same fish. And you have your fish bodies and your fish paste. In terms of fish utilization, okay. So we have our different value-added products. But how can we utilize these products now in dishes to create different types of dishes? And this is where we get creative in terms of the utilization of fish. A lot of people don't know how to cook fish, how to prepare fish into different dishes. Chicken is one of the most consumed meat in terms of protein, right? One of the cheaper protein sources as well, right? So we can cook chicken in many different ways, but to incorporate fish in a diet, which a lot of people for the last decade have been trying to incorporate fish by a healthier diet, we have to know how to use fish. You can use fish in salads. You can use it with fruit. You can make different dressings or dips, all right? And it's excellent with vegetables, smoked fish or smoked tuna, fried up with some vegetable. It's very delicious, it's very nutritious. And the thing is easy to prepare. It's easy and it's better in terms of digestibility, especially for older people. All right, as we get older, we should eat more fish. And we want to go to the other types of products, but these products are derived from fish waste or rest raw material, as I would have mentioned before in terms of the phrasing. So the photo here I have displayed, starting from the top left, that is the guts of the codfish, including the bladders and everything. Then we have the frame, the whole frame of the fish with the head. We have heads of the cod separately, and to the bottom right, we have the fish, the skin of the fish, as they produce skinless loins or fillets. So one of the byproducts from fish again, but this is from the fish waste, is fish silage. Normally, it's produced and used for animal feed, and it's an excellent source of protein. It's a liquid product, it's liquefied, it's made from liquefying the fish waste or the fish carcass, or even whole fish. You can do it using sardines or herrings, right? And it's made by adding acid, which breaks down the fish into a liquidy soluble form. And this additive here is actually, well, as it breaks down the fish to produce a product, the additive also prevents spoilage. But nonetheless, the condition of the fish to make this product doesn't have to be like your fresh carcass. You can use spoiled fish as well, because the acid takes care of that. All right. You can also use underutilized species that people would normally eat, and most of the rest raw material is gathered from your filleting industry. So fish silage is a most popular byproduct of the fish. It is a value-added product as well, made from the byproduct. Secondly, we have fish meal, or what we call, or fish powder. It's very high in protein, and it is prepared from using whole fish or the fish waste or the rest raw material. The process is that it's normally dried at 55 degrees or more for 8 or less hours, or it can be dried overnight at a lower temperature and then milled into the powder or whatever texture I desire to create the product. So the uses for fish meal just it's a lot. The animal feed, of course, is one. The fertilizer is one. They use it a lot in aquaculture for the fingerlings to bring them up. It can be used, which is what very interesting. It can be used to fortify our food. You may not, the application in terms of it, you may not be able to purchase fish, but you can get this powder here and add it to your soups or your beans, right? And that will give you the nutrients, the micronutrients and the macronutrients of a healthy meal in terms of your food and nutrition security, especially, you know, in younger children, even as adults, right? My experience is that even though you may think that fish, some fish species are cheap, and you know, if you can't buy the expensive fish like the salmon, you can buy a cheap fish like croaker, right, or blench or shiners or herons. But I was met with a great reality that some people can't even purchase those fish. So I think this product has a lot of potential. It's an easy process, all right, to create a great product that can be used and used to fortify our children's meals within the Caribbean as they grow up, because we know some children are very adverse to fish. They don't want to eat fish. They don't like the texture, right? Because the first type of meat they might be introduced to might be chicken, in terms of the smell as well. But this product here could be very beneficial. All right. Right, we have here fish collagen. This is normally derived, it's contained in the fish bones, all right, and the head. and the skin. Um, it can be added to juices or punches and so forth. And it's pure fish based. This product is out of Iceland. All right. And so therefore it's considered vegan. The marketability is great, right? There's no off flavor, no taste. Okay. So you can, and the nutrition, I can say, so the ladies love it in terms of the nails and the hair, the skin, the collagen that you need for that in terms of that beauty, that aestheticness. All right. Fish oil, yet another product. So fish oil is derived mainly using the oil parts from the fish, right? For example, well, we have the cod liver oil. It's used from the liver as well. So it's the other parts of the fish, not the muscle part of the fish, but the other parts of the fish, the guts, the head, the tail, the skin, the fins, the carcass, to produces fish oil. It goes through a heating process, steam is hydrolyzed, and the oil is produced, it's refined, and it's put into bottled or a capsule for easy consumption. All right. So we have a popular brand here called Live Oil 7Cs. Everyone knows that one. On the right, we have a brand called Lycee, which is from Iceland. It's very good. And if you look at the second bottle on the right, it's actually, this one is actually fortified with vitamin D, because in that country, they don't have much sun at a certain point in time, so they don't get sufficient vitamin D. So they take this supplement. All right, because you know vitamin D is very important in terms of the absorption of micronutrients into the body. Okay, one example is, I know of a colleague who did some research in terms of using tuna in Suriname. You know, Suriname lands and process a lot of tuna. So they did in terms of using the head from the tuna, even some meat and bones, to create tuna oil. All right, and it's a special marine oil because of the tuna, because it contains a higher DHA than other marine lipids, but it's also similar in terms of the content and the DHA and the EPA to that of the salmon, which we know is very good product, is very healthy. All right. One that is shocking is fish glue. Now this is made by heat. So we heat in the skin and the bones of the fish in water. And when we say fish glue, what comes to mind is when we're making a fish tea or fish broth, as we call it in Trinidad. You know, and when the soup is cooking, it gets thick, and we said, yes, that's the glue, right? That's the goodness of the fish, right? It's good. But the application here is that it's made, it can be used as an adhesive, all right, in like art, shoe, furniture repairs, even certain things like niche market, like preservation of manuscripts or maps or books and so forth. All right, it's typically made from non-oily fish, so you would find that they will make it from like they have croaker, they even have from the sturgeon as well, and they use the bladder of the croaker as well to make this fish glue. You all may know this one. We can have fish leather. Some species, such as the tilapia, shark, salmon, cod, stingray, the sturgeon as well, has a very tough skin, all right? And with scales, and when the fish is skinned or skin from the fillet, or you skin the fish on the whole, this skin is cleaned and dried and is made into fish leather, very durable, very elastic, and tear resistant. It's made into wallets, watch bands, even some shoes, leather straps as well. All right. So this is another good byproduct from the fish itself in terms of value. Fish jelly or gelatin. Well, so you can see in the photos there, in terms of the top one, that is the raw gelatin itself. It can be used to thicken, as a thickening additive. Can be used to make jelly beans, which is a snack, all right? Gummy bears. It can also use, you've seen a sausage there, but in terms of using, making the sausage casing to make fish sausages, to have it entirely vegan, they use this jelly for that. They also use the fish jelly to make dishes as well. So you can have a fish encased in fish jelly, all right? And this is because the skin and the bones, the byproduct, have high collagen content. Again, so that's where the gelatin is produced. And actually the properties of the fish gelatin is better than the gelatin where we will get from animal sources, all right, which is more common, but it is better. The main applications are, as you can see, in the food industry and the pharma industry, in terms of the how they encase their capsules and so forth, like the fish oil, the gelatin, they'll use that to encapsulate the fish oil and so forth. So just to go back through, we have a pictorial representation here on the fish, and we can see that in terms of processing and value-added products, there are many options. Every part of the fish can be used, from primary processing to go into secondary produced products, and then into byproducts. All right, so you have no such thing as waste, fish waste anymore. We want to eliminate that term, because we know, well, fish waste is generated about a lot of waste, you know, and maybe 60% is just the fish waste. All right, with the guts and so forth. But that in itself can create a byproduct. It can create value, can add to something, create another product. Okay. So I want to move on to the video that I promised you. All right, it is based from Iceland, and it's going to tell you about the dried fish, the products, the markets, prices, and how it evolved into what it is, and the process.
Hello, good people in Trinidad and at the Value Chain Workshop, sponsored by the CRFM and the University. We are here in Huistag, a company in Iceland. Huistag means like a headlock. If you're wrestling, you can do a headlock. It's the same meaning, but we play with words here. I'm holding a head of fish. That is what life is all about here, drying fish, getting the most out of fish heads and fish products. And I'm here with the production manager, Halldór Smári, who's going to tell us about the company and how they have gone about developing the products, their markets, and how they see themselves in the value chain of fisheries. the company itself, when was it established and what was the aim of the company at the beginning?
Yeah, it was established in 1999 by two large fishing companies in Grindavik, Vísir and Þorbjörn. And it was established to really make a product out of a byproduct for these fishing companies, which are the heads and the bone of mainly cod. And we started drying outside on wooden racks, mainly the larger heads and whole fish. But now we have developed technique to dry inside with help of geothermal to heat up the air. And these days we dry everything inside.
So prior to that, you were throwing away the raw material. And how much raw material are you talking about on a yearly basis?
Yeah, on a yearly basis now we're around 15,000 tons of raw material.
15,000 tons.
Mainly from the owners of this company.
But that was thrown away in the old days.
It was either thrown away or made animal feed or something like that when they had time. But mainly thrown away, yeah.
How many people work here?
We are 45 now.
45 people. Yeah. And you're running shifts, or is it from?
No, it's 8 to 5, nearly most of the days, but even longer if you need it. But the drying is really 24/7. We manage the drying from home, and we can really do everything from home.
So when you get your raw material, what are the issues that you look for? What's good raw material? What's bad raw material?
Yeah, that's been quite developing on all this time. We have, when we started, we got the head and the bone in the same tube. Now we have around 20 products. Head of head, same head, and the bone from all of these offcuts. Everything separated, iced, really fresh. So we are around maybe a day after landing from the boat. It's here in house.
I noticed there is no smell of the raw material. It's just fresh fish.
Yeah, it's fresh fish. Of course, there is fish smell. It's always a fish smell. But we have, with fresh raw material, you get less smell. And so that's our main goal.
So can you show us some of the products that you have?
Yeah, these are our main products, the cod head and the cod bone. Really just the fillet taken out. And this is around 60% of our production.
60%.
Yeah, everything goes to Nigeria.
So what do we have? We have a fish head, and what's hanging out there? What's the collarbones?
Yeah, collarbone. We have really two products of fish head, cod head, with collarbone and without collarbone. So when the fishers are doing bacalao, we get it without the collarbone here, because the collarbone goes with the bacalao. And when we are filleting, we get the ear, as we call it, the collarbone.
The collarbone.
And these are just two different species of products that have different prices. And yeah, the gills are in, but the tongue is out.
The tongue is out.
Yeah. So the tongue is really a different product for other markets.
Do you cut the tongue out yourself, or is it done at the fish processing?
It's normally done at the fish processing, but if it's not, we do it here.
And it's sold to Europe.
Yeah, in France,
So we have all the types of products here.
Then we also dry haddock, safe, lean tusk, and that's probably our main products.
So this is a backbone.
A backbone from safe.
Safe.
A little bit darker.
Yeah.
And then we also have the offcuts. So when you're trimming the fillet, you get some offcuts from the fillet, and we dry that also for the Nigerian one.
Yes, there are price differences here, right?
Yes.
How much, like if you compare these cut-offs or offcuts, and to a fish head, what would be a price difference between these two products?
Probably 100% more.
100% higher price for this
And then this is really,
This
you
is the
get
lowest.
half the price, half
Yeah.
the price.
Okay.
This is the cheapest product.
Yeah.
This is the back one.
And
And
then
this
you
is
have
the middle, our main product. And then we got this. These are the cutlets. We take mostly tusk and ling, the smallest fish,
Yeah.
and we cut it into pieces and dry it inside. So instead of drying a whole fish outside, which is the typical way and was done and has been done for many years, we found a way to short the dry process for 3 months, and get much better quality because we control the heat and the humidity in the drying cells. In Iceland, we can't control the weather. It's rainy and snowy and sun the same day, so it's quite hard to dry outside. But now we can dry as we want to dry.
Yeah. With the use of geothermal energy.
Yes, here we use geothermal energy, but you can use really any power source.
What is the yield of this? How much moisture do you have when you have a final product?
It's under 50%. About 80%. But you're really, when we transport, you're transporting 5 containers instead of 1 of the nutrition. Because we only take the water out, the 80% is just water. Left is protein and vitamins. And here we have really tests and some other products.
Hold it in hand.
Mostly.
Yeah.
First and foremost, the ling fillet.
Since morning. Since morning.
So this is a fillet without any bones.
Yeah. You might have the fin bone in.
Yeah.
That's just normal. And no additives, just dried. And they eat it on Christmas in Finland.
Christmas food in
Yeah.
Finland.
And they put it in calcium and soda. It gets 12 times bigger.
Yes.
So they get the weight back.
We have flatfishes. We have a skate. Or
Yeah,
it's like
a skate is a bycatch for the longliners that we mainly buy from.
Yeah.
And really is a problem everywhere. We found a way we can try it for Nigeria, and we started selling to China also.
China.
So we are looking at China as a new market for.
So it's been gutted.
Gutted, yeah.
And then you dry it just
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So the Nigerians, do they rehydrate it, or what do they do with it?
Yeah, they rehydrate this and cook it similar way that we would cook it. But the heads and the bones, they really more boil down into a stew and add their vegetables and spices into it. So they are getting a protein from the fish. But with the expensive products like the cutlets, they are more cooking it like we would do. They rehydrate and then cook. Yeah, these are just skate wings.
The wings of the
Yeah.
skates. Is that sold to China also, or
Yeah.
Nigeria, or
Yeah, Nigeria mostly.
mostly to Nigeria?
Yeah. Then we can try bacalao also.
Yep.
We have developed technique to try it more like sun-dried, like they want it. And then we have some other products that are really not a part of the drying. We have developed technique to take the intestines from the fish also and make fish oil out of it. Which is really rich of omega-3 and omega-6. And make meal out of the rest for animal feed. From that procedure, we can take the bones that are left and make calcium from the bones.
Who's buying this? Who's buying calcium?
Really, fish calcium is the best calcium you get for the human body. So if you pill it or put it in drinks or whatever, this is
like a supplement. Nutritional supplement.
And then we have the cod liver oil. We make that also.
I drink this every morning.
Me too.
Every morning.
Yeah.
That's how tall I am.
Yeah.
If we talk about the markets, for these products? So you mentioned that Nigeria is your main market, but you also mentioned China and Finland.
Yeah.
And do you have other markets?
No, not really. Nigeria is 98.5.
And how do you find the markets? How do you communicate?
We go there twice a year to look at the market, see the people, and know just of course there are developments there, and we meet our buyers and go to the market. And they come here, look at the place, and check everything out.
Do they ask you for any specific things with regards to
they
the
want
products?
smaller hats.
Smaller
Yeah,
hats?
please fish smaller hats.
Can you do that for them?
Of course not.
What's the future of this company?
Futures, I think we have been growing since '99. We started trying outside, took it in. We are always building up. Done this for a long time. We know how to do it. We know the Nigerian markets, and we have contacts there. Last time, and Nigeria is not going anywhere. They have to get their food. They are the most growing country in the world.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to keep selling them the product. Even if you go to China, of course, there are huge market there. And if we introduce it right, we can go there full force. But I think we always have to stick to Nigeria.
What is the most valuable product that you're selling at the moment?
It's the cutlets. Yeah.
The cutlets that you showed earlier.
Yeah. With the cutlets, we extended the market in Nigeria quite a lot, because you can buy 1 or 2 pieces with maybe higher price than the whole fish together. So possibly together you get more for cutlets.
What lessons have you learned over the years?
We learned a lot. Quality of raw material. That's the main.
Is that the main thing?
That's the main.
Yeah.
If you control the raw material, you get a good product. That's
good raw material produces good final products.
And with good products, you can, even in Nigeria, they can see a good product. They know our brand in Nigeria is good, and they know the brand.
Well, thank you so much for this information.
No problem.
And I hope our colleagues in the Caribbean have learned a bit about trying, and hopefully this discussion helps you in the discussion that takes place in the workshop in Trinidad.
Okay, so that was pretty interesting, I hope, for everyone. And quick review. What processing of fish involves. Those steps: sorting, scaling, gutting, the different market forms. We know there are secondary activities, and these activities add value to the fish. Processing also generates waste that can be utilized for various other value-added products or byproducts. And we no longer want to say fish waste is waste, but rest raw material, because we know we can make other valuable nutritional products from our marine species and make more money. Okay, so because more value is added, right, means a better price, a higher price for your fish, which means by extension and extrapolation, the GDP of the fish resources is multiplied when you add value. So you might land a fish for $5 a pound. You add value to that fish, you can sell it for $15 or even $20, even $25, depending on what you do to that fish and what the market determines, the market demand, sorry, for the price for that fish. All right, so from salted fish to smoked fish to the fish sausages and the burgers very popular. For example, one pack of that fish sausage, it only has 8 links in it, is $60 here. All right, so, and it's about less than about 50 grams per link, right? If I have 400 grams, 1 pound of fish, $50. If you use, we can do the maths, right? And so we can see value added is very important in terms of the fish. So this brings us to the end of module 2. Thank you very much for staying tuned in, and I hope you learned a lot in terms of processing and different market forms of fish, the endless list of value-added products that we can get from our marine species, and maybe how it's applicable to what you would like to do in your country. So at this point, we will take any questions or any comments or feedback, any examples, anything you would like to share with us in terms of what happens in your country in terms of your processing and the type of value-added products that you have to offer. So the floor is open. Hello? I think I might. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, good night. You hear me now?
Hearing you, yes.
Okay.
Can I ask my question?
Yes, you can. What's your name? Where you
Ryan.
from?
Ryan from Suriname.
Ryan from Suriname. Hi, Ryan.
Hi,
Please.
okay, good evening. Good
Good
evening to everyone out there also. I have a question concerning the cleaning and disinfection part.
Yeah.
You was talking about the air drying.
Yeah.
I was wondering, or no, air drying goes with temperature, right?
Yeah, the ambient temperature. It's not a machine. It's not a machine process. It just means you leave the equipment and tools to naturally dry.
Oh, naturally. Okay. Because
Naturally
what
dry in the clean environment. All right.
oh yeah.
Enclosed environment. Yeah.
Yeah, because some certain like if you have a company and you're doing big processing for export, for example, some company use like to clean the floors or the tables. They use like a pressure wash with a kind of temperature, and when they're doing that, it's allowed, but when they're doing that, I think it should be at a certain temperature, because if the temperature is too high, the certain leftovers of that we cannot see with the eyes can paste on the on the table or cutting boards, for example. Is that correct?
If the temperature is too high,
Yeah.
they will say the fish, like certain, like the pieces of fish and so will remain.
Right.
Yes, yes, because it will change. It's like heat, so it may change
The structure.
the structure of the fish, and then it will bind, because heat, in terms of the heat and the oils and the fish muscle, it will bind, or it will release fats and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah. Other question. The cleaning products that you would be using, it must be food graded.
Correct.
Yeah. And I think what I don't know if I missed that part, when doing the process from starting from raw material, you have to move in one way. I think if you have a building, like you start from one end and you end at the other end, right?
Yes, Ryan, you are correct. So you will normally start in the receiving area. So the the design of your processing area must be that where the fish enters, the final product does not pass back there, right? So it will enter your mainly your receiving area and come into your wet processing area and continue through either packaging or the area where you'll be conducting your value addition.
Yeah.
But I saw, smoking or drying or whatsoever, go through the packaging, then go through your storage and awaiting distribution, and then out. It will go out. So there's no
Correct.
backtracking of
To avoid, that is to avoid cross contamination.
cross contamination. That's correct.
Yeah. Yes. And here in our, I saw the video, but I missed a couple part. I don't know the value adding that they did with the like the fish waste.
Mhm.
Is it dried and fried also? I didn't really understand that part.
Um, okay, so the fish waste is normally used to they will normally use it to make fish oil or silage, more oils too. All right,
Yes.
through a process. Now it's not fried. They do use heat in the process.
Uh-huh.
Heating and water, centrifuge. Then I believe it's separate oil separator, then
Okay, okay.
right, and then they take the cake and then they press it, and you get
Because
that.
I saw it. I mean, I watching from my laptop. I saw it like it was like kind of dry, or did I miss that?
It just looked dry. It was actually it's not totally dry, just full. It was just it wasn't dry. It's quite moist. It was moist. It was
Moist.
the raw guts. Yeah, probably they put,
Or raw gosh. Okay, okay, okay.
yeah,
So
the raw.
how do they I mean, if you left the raw material long, because the guy was talking about the smell, it doesn't have that kind of awful smell. It has a fishy smell, but not that awful smell. And if you don't keep it in a kind of temperature, I think it will. If the temperature get high, you will get spoilage.
Yes, you will get spoilage. In his operation, he said that he receives his raw material within a day from the processing, the fillet processing plants, right?
Yeah.
So normally, in that particular example in Iceland, when they land their fish, the fish is processed within a matter of 5 hours, right? Within a matter of hours. So that fish now will get to him the following day. All right. So that is high quality raw material. What is on their side in that part of the continent is the temperature. They have very low ambient temperatures because of the country. So
Okay.
everything is always chilled. It's not hot. So the highest temperature might be about 10 or 11 degrees. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so they have that going for them. They don't have flies in Iceland, which will contribute to contamination. They have no flies, no mosquitoes. All right.
Okay, okay.
So yeah, all right. So that
Yeah. Um. Yeah, that was clear. Here in our country, we have a lot of waste material, but I see that you could do a lot of things. And concerning value adding, we don't have a lot. Also, we just do fresh on ice or like steak fillet. But I think lately they introduced to make of the fish waste to make fertilizer. But from now till now, we have the liquid type. But I saw that we could I like the hamburgers and the fish steaks. I like that, and that would be very interesting to like for a value adding. Yes.
yeah, yes, yes, it will be okay. Well, hopefully we can one day we can do a session on these value added products and how we can, in terms of the process of how we make these value added products and the type of species that we can use to make them. Here we can do it, and then you can try it in your home countries. All right.
Okay. Yes, yes, that
Thanks
would
a
make
lot.
sense. Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
okay, thank you, Ryan. Can we get
Max
Mr.
has his hand
Diana?
up, Keegan.
Max?
Yes.
Yes, Parmeshwar Jainarain here.
Yes,
Um,
yes, Parmeshwar. Good
yeah,
night.
but good night. It was an excellent presentation, and Ryan from Suriname did make some interesting points. He actually covered some of the issues that I was going to raise. But just like to state that it's important not to wash your working area with water from the wharf. You know, most of these processing plants are on the sea, or I wouldn't say on the sea, on like base over just even close by to the seaside. So it's important not to use, and it's tempting to use the water there to wash down your working area. But I've learned from previous workshop that this water contain bacteria, and you cannot use it to even wash your. It's advisable not to even to wash your ice box or boat with the seawater on the landing site.
Right. That's correct. So the natural water from it does contain a lot of bacteria we cannot see and microorganisms. And you throw that or you get that onto the surfaces where you're going to process your fish, onto your clothes as well. You put it back into your boat where you're going to put your fish. It's just an endless cycle of cross contamination. So yes. So
Yes, and it's also important that the vehicle that brings, in Guyana case, we have these refrigerated canters who bring fish into the processing plant. So what they do with them when they come, they have a special area that they wash them down, they hose them down, because most of the time they bring fish on ice, and it's the washing down would eliminate bacteria, and the vehicle drive on the roadway with mud and whatever that does come in contact with it. So it's very important that the vehicle bringing the product into the fish plant be washed properly before it enter into the offload area. And earlier you mentioned that about cross contamination. And yes, we were being told that the finished product and the raw material shouldn't have crossed path in no area. The finished product go into the plant to be packaged and for the value added. So it's very important to avoid this kind of contamination. If you understand the point where you're coming from.
yes, I fully understand the point there. In terms of cross contamination in processing area, even the vehicle is cross contamination as well, because you want to have dedicated vehicles for the transport of your fish and dedicated boxes and bins and so forth. You know, you don't want to be using, let's say, for example, chicken boxes to move your fish. You know, there's a different type of bacteria, different type of product there. All right. Or a farm animal truck, you know, move some animals, you know, when you went on a farm and you're coming into the fish landing site, that is bacteria. We don't even encourage or we try not to even move between let's say processing areas, let's say located in different areas, and or different markets, right? Because you can cross contaminate there as well. So your equipment will stay one place, and if you need to go somewhere else, you need to use different boots and so forth. All right.
Yeah.
Hello.
I had several other questions on the value added, but I would leave that for other participants to raise. I just want to touch brief on the, like when you did mention about the cooking of fish, and it's important to know that each type of fish have to be cooked differently. Some fish eat best when you, as we say in our country, when you curry it. Some eat better when you fried it. So if you use a fish that's better to be curried and you fry it, it won't taste as good as it is. And then some people eat it, and because the fish is not prepared in the right manner, they get torn off from eating fish, especially kids, children. Then they don't like to eat fish because the people preparing the fish on many times do not know how to prepare individual fish. So it's good to educate the people on how various type of fish are to be cooked.
Yes, as a utilization aspect.
Yes, so I take my leave for now. Later, I will come up with something more, if not, to give everybody a chance.
Okay, thank you very much.
Keegan, we have Adrian with his hand up.
Yes, Mr. Ruda.
Hi, very, very good presentation. Very informative, very detailed. I'm impressed. I like it. Just wanted to add, following on Max's comments, I'll deal with my switch up. What we require here is that all processing stations must use hot water at a minimum 110 degrees for washing down, even with the vehicles. Platforms where fish is processed afterwards, they must use hot water. We're not allowed to use chemicals other than very light dishwashing liquid. And the reason is we have a regulation that says that you can't use for processing, you can't use the chlorine, you can't use anything of the sort. So we had to use hot water. I don't know how, and I just wanted to add in, my next point is just wanted to add in too, in terms of the value added. We have, we do, our major export is lobster, spiny lobster, crawfish. And with the value added, we have now come into, at sea, harvesting the innards, or what you call the guts or the fat from the lobster and the lobster head. Now that is basically 60% of the animal that used to go to waste. But our fishers are now processing that out at sea because that's where they do most of the processing. And lobster fat, which is the fat, the matter from inside the head or the body or the carapace of the animal, is now worth just as much as the lobster tail itself, because and the demand is there because it's used for cooking. The heads used to be thrown or discarded, but now fishers are now crushing those and crushing them and packaging them because they can now be cooked down to use for lobster bisque and other products. And two, we use here, we have the conch, the queen conch. The waste from the queen conch is also now used and cleaned and processed to get rid of the odor, cleaned and processed, and that is used now in soups. Then another value-added aspect of the queen conch is when conchs are harvested in the Bahamas, they're normally harvested at 10,000 conchs, 10,000 individual conchs in the shell per time. So out of that 10,000, you may lose maybe 100, 200. That's how life is. So instead of discarding the conchs that would have expired, we use that and we dry them. We don't salt them right away, but we salt them afterwards, but we dry them, process them. And we have something called dry conch. The dry conch, if you buy a live conch for whatever, it may cost you maybe $3 to $4. The dry conch could go as much as $15 per piece. Why? Because it's a valued item and highly requested for cooking. People who do the cooking, so people like that. With the dry conch, with the flavor and everything else. So that's another value added. So here it is. There's one conch that would have been discarded is now worth twice as much as an animal that would have been alive if it was sold, on the live market, whole in the shell or whatever. So I just wanted to bring that in terms of value added. We also here I saw a part of your presentation where you were speaking to corning or salting fish. We do very little of that here, but it is still, again, people do it, and that's all they do because there's such a demand for, in that market, particularly for restaurants, okay, that they get basically 5 to 8 times as much for a fish that's corned and dried than they would get if they sold a whole live fish, okay, to the point where they would even sell the fish by pieces. I learned this over the last Easter weekend, because the fish is dried, it lasts longer. There's no spoilage. So they would ask you, do you want half, a quarter, or what, whatever, but it still is worth more than if I bought the whole live fish. So on that, I just wanted to add in. Unfortunately, I'm at another meeting somewhere else and I may have to drop off, but just wanted to add this in. Very good presentation. I'm completely impressed by the presentation and the delivery. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Laroda, and for those experiences from the Bahamas and so forth, because that's a very important point in Trinidad. Actually, we consume a lot of salted fish and smoked fish, but we don't produce it. It's mostly imported, and we import that figure. The last figure I have, I think, is from 2018. It was to the tune of nearly $72 million worth of salted and smoked fish being imported. That means we have a market for it. And not much people are doing it. Who are doing it is on a very small scale and selling it within the local markets. But there is a market for it, obviously, within those millions that we can tap into for the fishers or for downstream processing. I want to get into the business. And yes, as you rightfully said, with the processes, you can increase the value of your fish up to 5 times the amount, and which means more money for you as the fisher if you just put in like about a few 5-10 days worth of value added processing. Okay, do we have anyone else?
We have no other hands at the moment. So if there's anything you would like to expand on a little, Keegan, you can. Perhaps you could speak a little about the process in which you actually get to the fish meal, fish powder stage, because I think that is an interesting component because you can actually use a lot of fish waste to get there, to produce the fish powder or fish meal.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can elaborate a little while we wait on the others to ask whatever questions they might have.
Sure. Mitch, it's kind of interesting that fish powder it was it's kind of dear to me. I'm gonna do some. I want to delve into that in terms of the product development part of it. Um, as my job. It's quite easy to produce, right? It's not very expensive. Doesn't require heavy, a lot of equipment. It just needs to be dried. You can brine it in like a 3-4% in terms of the help for the preservation part of it, but the drying itself is also preservation. And then you mill this powder. This was actually introduced to me, well, it actually prompted some research on my part, because my what do you call them, let's say my parish priest, when they go on their tours or so forth, or sabbaticals, he was in Mexico for a period of time, and he came to do a session at my home, and he asked on the way home, what do I do? And I told him what my studies were and what I'm involved in. And he said, you know what? I remember this particular product while I was in Mexico. And they take the fish and they make powder. And you can add it to almost anything for fortify your food, your beans, your soups, your broths, anything. All right. Shakes. It's like a protein powder, protein pack powder. And we can see that it's very nutritious. It's high in protein. It's got all the trace minerals and nutrients. All right. And it can literally be produced within, say, by processing. So you get that fish 1 day, 2 days. You put it to dry. If you do not have the equipment, you may need to sun dry for a few days once you get the proper temperature. And within a week, you have such a great product, a value-added product, right? And you package that. The packaging, it requires, since it's already dried, it can go in a regular bag, a regular clear polypropylene bag, and sealed and sold. All right. And I think it will be a great product in any Caribbean island, especially for, as I mentioned, part of my studies, it's the food and nutrition aspect, right? And as it relates to fish, it plays an important role in terms of children growing up getting the proper nutrition they need, so that they can excel in everything and growing in health and academics and so forth. All right. And just be generally healthy.
Yeah, why I was interested particularly for you to expand on this, Keegan, is because in some period in 2019 or so, I attended an international meeting, and the participants from some African countries indicated that they do a lot of this fish drying and making things like the powder, etc., because in their national food and nutritional policy, fish is identified as a product that can address the main issues in their society, issues of malnutrition, issues of obesity, etc. In addition to promoting healthy lifestyles. So they actually included fish, identified fish, specifically as a food item that must be incorporated into the national food mix. And some of these products were identified simply because they were easier to move through all levels of the society on all grades, like children, etc., so that the proper nutrition would be available across the board.
Right.
So it'd be very, very interesting to see perhaps we could do a little research on this some more to see how a small scale fisher could look at doing this, because it doesn't seem to be that difficult.
No, process is actually not that difficult.
So Paula Jacobs probably wants to tell us something, Keegan. So
Sure.
Paul.
Jacobs, good night.
Good night.
I'm hearing you.
That's the Galaxy 820 that we were trying to identify. So I think she was fumbling with changing her name. Good night, Miss Paula Jacobs from Belize.
Yes,
Good
I know
night.
Paula, I know Paula Jacobs. The nice lady from the ladies on the island.
Yeah.
All right, so she wanted to make a contribution, because we can give her the floor.
No, what
Certainly.
happened is I am sorry I joined late, but I was trying to see about the fish powder. I didn't get it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So Miss Paul, we were just saying in terms of it's an excellent byproduct, as it's easy to prepare. It's a dried product, and it's in terms of the promoting healthy lifestyles, as Mitch would have mentioned, and incorporating it into policy for in certain countries to address the malnutrition and food nutrition security issues, and the issues of the NCDs and so forth, in terms of getting that fish incorporation into the diet. The fish meal or the fish powder was identified as the solution, or a solution, a good solution, from children
Yeah.
to young
Yes,
adults
but,
to the older, the elderly.
But can I ask a question? Like, for example, more or less what you use the powder for, like something like making panades, or put between something, maybe like, or like a flour, or like a mix, like a.
I don't I see it. It has endless applications, but it's one of the applications. It can be used to fortify to fortify your food with the fish nutrients.
Okay. So it's something like a mixture, like something like you could eat it like something like maybe tuna, or you could put it like
No,
making in panade, or.
it's a dry product, so it's like a powder. All right, as you see, so it is dried fish bones or skin, or even fish muscle, and then this muscle is milled or grinded into a powder. So, right, it's had a certain powdery texture, just like, I would say, maybe not as fine as flour, but like it could be, though, if you pass it more than once, it could be kind of
Like something like can lab or something like that, maybe like a lab. To me, look something like that.
yeah, well, just general powder, like if you make oats flour, something like
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so as people interested in the fish meal, I can see if I can get some more information, do some research, and make it available.
So Keegan, we have Charlene Castle unmuted. I'm not sure if she'd like to get the floor, but if she'd like to, perhaps we can give an opportunity.
Sure.
Charlene Castle.
Sure. Good night, Ms. Charlene.
Hello, good night, everyone.
Good night. We're hearing you.
Are you hearing me? I'm currently traveling at the moment, so
Yes, we are
I
hearing
just
you.
want to make sure that everyone is hearing me clearly. Yeah.
Yes.
My take on it is the same question that what's her name? She was asking about how do you use the product? That That's my main interest. How do
Yeah,
you use the fish meal product?
yeah, you use it, okay, for if you want in terms of consumption, okay. So for everyone who is
Pardon?
okay, in terms of consuming the product, the fish powder, you can add it to your beans. You can add it to your like a soup, a vegetable soup. You can add it to even a fish soup, right? It's just even used to give you the oil nutrients and to fortify the food that you already eat. Okay. So there's no, maybe in the elderly, as you get older as well, you still need a lot of nutrients. And this is packed with all the proteins and nutrients to support a healthy lifestyle. Then there's less meat in terms of the digestibility. Okay. It's so it has a lot of applications. All right. I know it is also used in aquaculture to feed the small fish when they're very, very small. All right. They eat the powder, they eat the powder form. All right. So because it gets very high in protein. Those who are familiar aquaculture production, we normally start with a very high protein diet and then come down to a ratio maybe about 18% protein diet, right? And the feed gets bigger as the animal gets bigger. So yeah, so the fish meal is applied in the aquaculture
Okay.
as well because of the high nutrient content. Yeah,
Can I ask another question, please?
sure.
Is it readily available in other countries?
In I believe in some countries it is available. I can say I have not seen it in my country. If anyone has seen this type of product in their country, please um please put it in the chat. But I don't think you see that's what we are trying to encourage. We are trying to make the fishers more aware of the products derived from the fish, these value-added products, and get it into production and get it into the industry, the food industry itself. So I can say I haven't seen it on the shelves, so no. And again, if anyone has, please tell me what country it's in and how it's packaged, what price you pay for it, even if they label it with the type of species used and so forth, what type of labeling. If you get a photo, it would be nice. If not here, and you happen to get it, you can share it in the WhatsApp group. Okay,
Okay,
hello?
Keegan, yes,
Yeah.
thank you. We are about that time, that scheduled time. I don't
Okay.
know if I don't see any other hands up, so it's a good time to wind down and start concluding this session. So I'm
All
going
right.
to do that now. For the record, we had 30 persons participating in and out tonight. So I think we beat the numbers from last session on Tuesday, and by a few persons. I want to pick on a few people to introduce themselves. I will take two. Miss Vidona Parker, if you can unmute and say where you're from, that would be nice.
Good evening, everyone. I'm from the Manchinade Hera, Manchinade Fisher Folks Group. That is in Portland.
All right, wonderful. Thank you and welcome. And I will pick on one other person to kindly introduce yourself. C. Brown, if you can unmute and let us hear from you.
Yeah, good night. Christopher Brown, Half Moon Bay Fisherman's Cooperative, Vulture Beach.
Okay, wonderful. So we have a representation from Jamaica tonight, Christopher Brown. Thank you, sir. All right, that's it.
Yeah.
We don't know everyone, but we'll try to see how best we can learn each other before we conclude next week. So we are going to see you next week again, next week, Tuesday, the 26th of July. And we're going to have storage and preservation. And so this is the end, and thank you one and all. I'm going to stop the recording. And if it's possible for you to put on your cameras, let's do that. So good night.
Before you go, excuse me, before you go,